Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Brendan Boyle from Pennsylvania, who you just saw in that shot, as a matter of fact, ranking member of the House Budget Committee. Congressman, Norman seems to be arguing that if Republicans knew everything that was in this bill, they might not be so quick to vote yes. On the other hand, there is an argument to be made. It's almost impossible not to know, if you're on Capitol Hill, what the main points of contention are, right, at the very least. But is there, do you think, one compelling argument that you think has the potential to stop this bill in its current form?
Well, great to be back with you. And the headline that I always lead with when I talk about this bill, when I'm back home in Philadelphia and people are asking me about it, say it's as simple as this. 17 million Americans are going to lose their health care in order to help subsidize tax cuts for the top 1%. There are, of course, a number of other things that are in this piece of legislation as well. I think the concerns that Ralph Norman and others, such as myself, were raising yesterday in Rules Committee is that they had us gavel in about 20 minutes after the Senate had passed a bill that they had actually made a lot of changes to and inserted certain things. The major headlines didn't change. You still have millions of Americans losing their health care to subsidize tax cuts for the rich. But there were all these late insertions, especially for the senator from Alaska, that frankly a lot of Republicans just had no idea were in there because they couldn't speed read 1,000 pages in 15 minutes.
So let me play for you what we just heard, I think, in the last hour from your House leader.
So all we need are 4 Republicans to join us in support of their constituents, to have John McCain level courage and stand up in defense of the health care of the American people.
And there you are again in the middle of this conversation. It is easy, though, right, for your side of the aisle to say they should just stand up to Donald Trump. Also, I'm not sure there's any Democrat who has ever, well, I would say there is no Democrat who has ever faced a president like Donald Trump. But are you hearing from Republicans who are seriously considering making this the moment that they say no?
Well, actually, once upon a time, I was a freshman member about 11 years ago, and I stood up and voted against a major foreign policy priority of a president of my own party, President Obama. I know that it isn't easy, and it's generally not a fun experience. But for those Republican members who are considering it, I would say this: whether you serve here 2 years, 20 years, no matter how long, imagine if you can be the person who actually stops a bill pushing through that would strip health care away from millions of Americans. We still know the name John McCain today. We might not as easily be able to name all of those Republicans who are voting yes to repeal Obamacare 8 years ago. I'll also say this to those Republicans who maybe won't be swayed by an appeal to being courageous. Keep in mind there's a reason why Profiles in Courage was a short book. I would say if you're not going to be courageous, be afraid of your own voters next November. This bill is polling worse than any other major piece of legislation in my lifetime. There's a political science professor at George Washington University who said it was actually the worst polling he's ever seen on a major piece of legislation. So I believe House Republicans who vote for this, if it passes, many of them, dozens and dozens of them, will lose their jobs next November because of it.
So let me play devil's advocate, if I can, Congressman. Democrats, including you, seem to be assuming that Republicans are indeed gambling their futures individually and as a party on a bill that, frankly, will make them pay a price. But what makes you confident of that? Because Donald Trump has proved he's been underestimated by his opponents, and maybe if not underestimated, he seems in many instances to have outmaneuvered the opposition.
I don't underestimate Donald Trump, especially in terms of the influence he has among Republican primary voters. There's no question that there are Republican members who are scared to death of crossing Donald Trump because one tweet or social media post from him can do real damage to their careers within a Republican primary. But what I'm talking about is slightly different. For those 40 or 50 House Republican members who are facing a competitive general election, I would argue to them they should be more afraid of their general election audience than their primary voters, because that's the real race. And there, let's not forget, Donald Trump's approval rating right now is only in the low 40s, and the approval rating of this bill is below 40%.
We're out of time, but I do want to ask you one final question, because you've been so close as a Democrat could be, to the center of this action. And it's simply this. Does this vote happen today or tomorrow, or does this drag out potentially for days or even longer?
Yeah, I have to say that is one that I really can't offer a prediction on. I understand there's a group of House Republicans, more supposedly moderate members, as well as more Freedom Caucus members. Both sets of different Republicans are over at the White House right now, apparently meeting with the president or his staff. So stay tuned. I mean, this vote could take place in the next hour, or we could be here for days. It's just really uncertain at this moment.
Congressman Brendan Boyle, it's good to have you back. Thank you for coming on.